Okay, welcome to Happy Memories. It's the first installment and the best. And we have Vicki Poppe and Teddy Poppe, and they're going to remember the happy times of their relating. We're going to begin first with basics like food, and Vicki's going to remember in the present tenses. So we're going to be eating this food while watching. This is a great double benefit of the show. One of the happy memories with Teddy and food and her. Yes.
All right. Well, as I'm sitting here, and I'm remembering sitting in a fun hotel in Texas. We were in Houston, Texas at a book show, or at an expo. And we came home from the book show.
We come home
from the book show.
Yes.
And we're ready to have dinner, and it's too much to go out to dinner. So there's nothing as much fun as getting room service. So Teddy called room service, and usually the hotel foods are okay, even the nicer hotels. They're you know, this dinner was perfect. It was really perfect. And it was so delicate, just like our being there was delicate in the moment. So we're there, they bring in the room service tray. Teddy meets the man at the door, he brings in this beautiful tray, takes off the covers, and just lovely, beautiful, delicate, we had little delicate French fries and delicate shrimp with avocado, and it was but it was delicious because it was a delicious time.
And you remember that you said or did anything with Teddy while you were eating this?
We were just loving it. We were having so much fun because it was just the two of us.
Did you say anything to them?
Yes,
What did you say?
there was so much fun that it's just us and we're having room service, because generally Teddy does all the cooking for great amounts of people on a daily basis.
On that note, Teddy, one memory of food with Vicki.
Well, I'm thinking of a memory. As a matter of fact, it was even before we were married. I remember when I had worked there. I working in a restaurant in Cambridge, and Vicki comes into the restaurant, and I was living alone in an apartment in Brighton, and
present tense if you can. I'm living alone.
So I'm living alone in an apartment in Brighton, and the same person, my boss, owns both the restaurant and the apartment. And on the same day, I have to leave the apartment because it's been converted to a condo, and I have to leave the restaurant because the restaurant's about to be taken down. So Vicki asked me if I would like to come to work in her restaurant, and I say there's no way because you could never afford me. So I start to work there, and I'm working there.
And look, if you can, look to the many people loving this. Right,
So I have no idea what I'm supposed to do in this restaurant. And there's this thing that happens in this fast food restaurant. The way this one works is there's a counter, and there's two people there that call numbers and give out the lunches. And maybe you guys remember a restaurant called Blazing Salads down in downtown Boston, downtown Crossing. So I get behind the counter. And she's on one side, I'm on the other side, and they're putting these lunches down, and we have to call out the numbers. And she starts to call the numbers, and now I've never done this before, and all of a sudden I feel there's a speed to this. Now I start to do this as fast as I could possibly do it, and like I felt this sort of normal rhythm develop. I feel this normal rhythm develop, and all of a sudden it's like I'm completely transported into something that's beyond what's just happening, and into this sort of like perfect moment where time doesn't pass because there's no time in it, and we're getting out these massive amounts of lunches, and they just keep coming and coming and coming, and it's like 2 hours of doing this dance, and you take a tray out, you put a napkin on, you put silverware on, you put the drink on, you put the container with the lunch on, and you call a number, and somebody picks it up, and it's like this rhythm, and she calls one, and I call one, and she calls one, and I call it, and it's just like going faster and faster and faster and faster and faster. And I just figured that anybody can do this because I'm doing it. And,
Wow.
And it felt like just a natural thing. It felt just really natural to be. It feels really natural just to be in that rhythm together, doing this sort of like routine with giving out the lunches.
Very beautiful. Thank you. Next. Doing great. Okay.
It feels like that show, 30 Seconds, where they do the sports.
You have a son, Teddy. Yes, Teddy Jr.
I do.
Can you remember, either of you can go first, can you remember a moment with the three of you and just what's going on, and vividly in the present tense as much as possible, describe for both us and
Yeah.
your audience, a moment with both of you and your son Teddy.
I'll go first on this one.
All right.
We're in Wisconsin. We're living in a little apartment. The three of us. Teddy's about 2 years old. He's really just speaking. And we're in bed. We had a king-size bed, water bed. And little Teddy, beautiful baby, looks like a Gabriel angel. All little curls, light curly hair, beautiful face, looks like just like his dad. He looks up at me and he says, "Mom, Dad's my best." And I said, "Oh, Teddy, Dad's my best too."
Wow! Was Teddy Senior there? At the
I
moment?
think he was.
Oh.
Do you remember?
I don't
Dad's
remember
my
that.
best. Oh.
Oh, thank you, Vicki. Teddy Senior, any moment you remember?
Well,
with
I'm
Vicki
going to
and
talk.
Teddy Jr.?
Well, you
And
know.
don't forget to talk to our many.
I try to keep my eyes closed. When I keep my eyes closed, I can feel it.
You
I
can
can
keep your eyes
talk
closed.
better.
Keep your eyes closed,
Okay.
facing the camera.
So I'm gonna go back to the original moment when Teddy Jr. shows up. So we're in a hospital. We're sitting in the hospital, and Vicky's meditating, and the doctors keep on thinking that there's something wrong because everybody's heart rate goes down, and they don't understand that it's just because it's the meditation and she's calming everything down. So we're there, and it's taking hours and hours and hours, and finally the doctor says, "Okay, if this doesn't happen after I eat this pizza, we're going to have a cesarean section and get a baby." So we go in, and now Vicky has asked that I attend the birth, thinking that it's going to be a regular birth. Now, so when I hear it's a cesarean section, I feel I'm off the hook. I don't have to go in there. And the doctor says, "No, come on in." So she's on this table, and I'm on the other side of the table, and they put this thing. They think they put a curtain so that I can't see. So all of a sudden, there's these machines, and they're cutting, and it's like blah blah blah, and stuff is flying all over the place, and like she can't feel a thing, and I'm like horrified at the lack of respect that the doctors and nurses have for this, like the human body, and they're cutting my wife open, and blood is flying, and they're throwing stuff around, and all of a sudden out comes this little thing with a pointed head, and it's blue, and they rush it out and take him over to the other side and immediately put a cap on his head. And I'm saying, "Okay, wait a second, why'd you do this? What's wrong with him? What's wrong with him?" They said, "Nothing, it's perfect." I said, "No, he's blue, and you put a cap on his head, what's wrong?" So they say, "Nothing, that's just the way kids are." So now Vicky's completely out of it, and she has no idea whether she's had the baby or not. And now they don't sew her up, they take a staple gun and they and my son is over there and my wife is here, and like this chaotic scene is happening. And because she was so out of it from the thing, they give me Teddy first, and I take one look at him and I say, "Teddy, you and I both know there's no way in the world I'm your father, and I know how to be a father. You're here to help me learn something that I could never learn without you. And together we're going to learn this."
And what?
Together we'll learn it.
Yep. Thank you. My.
Wow. Thank you.
Okay, our next question is, you both are on a spiritual path, I think the same spiritual path. Is that
Yes.
true? Course in Miracles?
Yeah.
Can you remember one scene, vivid if you can, in the present tense, that you've shared on this long spiritual journey that you are going on together?
I'll go first again on this one. We are in a hospital waiting room, and we are having a talk about ending the relationship. This was maybe about 3 years ago, and it looked like we're on the edge of a divorce. And we're going back and forth, and my sisters and their husbands are there, and I asked everyone's help to have a conversation. And Teddy's saying passionately whatever he's saying, and I'm saying passionately whatever I'm saying. And everyone in the room says, "Well, apparently this will never work. It's true, this should be the end of the relationship." And all of a sudden, Teddy starts speaking about how dedicated he is to listening to this inner guidance, and that it is his life, no matter what it shows up as, no matter who it seems to offend, no matter what it looks like. And in that, something happened. I was just looking at him, and
I am just looking.
I'm really looking at him, and all of a sudden, everything, the space opened up, and I literally experienced right there in the end of this big disagreement or whatever it was, a full light experience of being one in a natural light of who we are. I could feel and see or recognize this light in Teddy, light in myself, and this complete awareness of what true love is and what my purpose was and the purpose of this relationship. And in that 1 second, every memory of upset and hurt and discord literally fell away and has never come back. And in that second, I just knew all I have to do is step back, accept my part in whatever's being done, and allow everything else just to be. And from that day on, we lived in a miraculous harmony that lasted for 4 months. It was like walking on water for 4 complete months. It was a total suspension of judgment and a total appreciation and joy of knowing that we are one, and that no matter what is going on here in form, it doesn't matter and it doesn't affect the real purpose of our being here in time and our being here together. That's my favorite one.
Wow.
In the Course in Miracles, they call it a holy instant, and it was.
Oh, my.
It was a complete communication between us, and then what happened is that Teddy experienced it at the same time, and this was the most miraculous experience for me, because I let go of every outcome in that instant, and I expected he'd just go, but it didn't matter anymore. And he came in, it was like an entrainment in the same moment, in time, within seconds, and we were both in a natural innocence and recognizing we were exactly where we belonged, and that nothing ever needed to change. And I had the happiest ever aftering marriage could ever dream of or experience.
Thank you, Vicki.
Thank you. Thank you for asking.
Yes, Teddy, one moment with Vicki on your very long shared spiritual journey. If something
I had one, and then I had another, and I'm trying to, let me just look at which one.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I'm really going to go to the most recent one. Okay, I get this one. Okay, I'm going to remember this one. So, where it's a summer afternoon. It's like a summer afternoon, and Vicki has some friends over, and we have the garage is sort of open, and we have it all set up as like a living room. There's rugs and there's couches. And Vicki has some friends over, and they're all female friends, so I'm just sort of attending to, whatever it is I'm doing in that day. And I decide that I'm going to make some lunch. I'm going to barbecue some lunch. So all of a sudden, I feel this presence. Now, and it's a very familiar presence because Jesus has been speaking to me and with me, for years and years and years now. And there's a line in the Course that says, I am in control of space and time. And this is Jesus. Jesus says, I am in control of space and time. So all of a sudden I feel this presence, and it's as if Jesus is sitting on my shoulder, and he starts to show me the smallness of space and time, like all of space and time compared to the grandness of like the universe, the real universe, the real world, like the kingdom. He shows me the smallness of space and time in relationship to the grandness of the kingdom, and he begins to show me in a way that's impossible for me to explain how he actually has the ability to control space and time. So I'm just going about my day, and now I can't talk about this because I'm just feeling this presence in me, directing me in everything I'm doing. I'm just walking around the yard, cooking and doing whatever it is that I'm doing, and serving lunch and whatever it is. And this goes on for about 6-7 hours. So Vicky's friends all go home, and I walk into the garage, and Vicky is sitting there alone. And I said, you know, I have to tell you something. And she says, you know, before you tell me anything, she said, everybody here today felt like Jesus was here in the yard with them. And all we can see was sort of this graceful dance of you doing whatever it was you were doing. And everybody here felt this presence of Jesus. So I said, well, I got to tell you something, because what I was going to tell you is that Jesus was here in the yard today, and he was like on my shoulder, showing me how he controls space and time. And I was just in such a space of sort of like transcendental, like harmony with everything, that I was unable to talk about it, because there was something he's showing me and a reason that he was showing it to me that I really can't express. But he was here. He was here the whole afternoon, and he was like on my shoulder. Like it was like having like I don't know how to say it. It wasn't a puppet, but it was like having something sitting on your shoulder, like showing you everything through his eyes, and living in the grace of like this thing that's like the totality of grace beyond the world, and not being able to move out of it no matter what you do, and only being able to stay centered on it, and not even being able to talk about it. Just have to, like, every move is like this fluidity of grace and this complete presence. And I'm thinking, you know, nobody's going to believe this, because I can't convey this at all, and who would believe it? And then all of a sudden she says to me, every single one of her friends felt the presence of Jesus, like he was here in the yard today. And it was true. He was there in the yard that day.
My, thank you so much, both of you. Well, speaking of shoulders, and you can pass on this question, but this is Cambridge after all.
Oh,
Okay.
So, is there any moment of touch? It doesn't have to be a grand moment, but any moment of touch between you and Teddy that you could share with us in the present tense? Could be,
Physical touch?
yeah, physical touch. It could be the small, like at the moment my hands are on both of your backs.
Mm-hmm.
So it could be any kind of touch at all, but a real physical touch between you two. It can be the hair, anything at all. But if you'd like, if anything comes to mind and you would like to share, yes, Vicky?
I'll do it. I remember, we're going to sleep, and we haven't had the most agreeable of days. And whatever had come up had come up in conversation or lack of. And we're in bed now, and just quiet. And we're just lying side by side. And I just put my hand out into Teddy's hand like that, and he holds it. And that was everything.
My.
Very simple.
Yes. Just a tiny bit more when you say that was everything. Could
It
you
just-
slow motion that and just tell us what that involves?
Because when Teddy and I are so opposite in personalities, we have a very identifiable soul connection, but our daily personalities, he likes the Grateful Dead, I like Mozart. He likes motorcycles, I like limousines. It's like we are extremes in terms of personality. So if there's a disagreement, there's an extreme disagreement usually, and this was a day when there was that. And coming to bed, I was so grateful that he was lying there beside me, and there was no need to speak or to talk about anything or to go over anything. And it was the entire resolution of whatever the story of the day was in my just putting my hand near his and him responding by holding it. That's all. Simple.
Thank you.
It erased everything.
Oh,
every
my.
upset,
Yeah.
every thought, everything gone.
Thank you, Vicky. Teddy?
Well, I'm going to talk about one that is actually before we were married, when we were living in the apartment above the restaurant on the top floor, and in the bathroom there's this like huge jacuzzi tub, that was big enough for two of us, believe it or not, especially me and my size. It was big enough for two of us and deep enough for us to both fit in it. And I remember we would sit toward the back of the tub, and I'd put my arm around her like this. And I remember just sitting in the tub, and we're having this conversation about something, and all of a sudden she completely disappeared. Like she was just gone. She was no longer physically in the tub.
You never told me that.
It's like I'm sitting there with my arm around air, and I hear this voice talking to me, but physically she's gone. Like she's gone. There's nobody in the tub with me. Just this voice speaking to me. And I have no idea to this day how that happened, but she was not in the tub. She had disappeared.
Thank you again. Our next question is, if you like, what words that Teddy says to you really touches you and helps you, that come to mind now?
I would say the tenderest moment was when Teddy looked at me, and we were in a conversation with another person, and he said, "I trust you."
Can you tell us a little bit more where that was happening, if you remember?
I do remember. We were with a therapist, actually, marriage counselor, and we were in the office, and I think he asked us a question, and Teddy looked at me and said, "I trust you." After whatever upset had come, and the therapist asked a question, well, what do you feel about her, or this or that? And I knew that he trusted me, and I knew that it was more than just a day-to-day life issue of trust, but it was a soul recognition of union.
And Teddy, any words that come to mind that Vicki said to you that touched you and mean a lot to you?
Well, and this is going to sound very strange. So,
unlike the other things that we've heard.
No, this is a really interesting one to me, because it really isn't. It goes beyond. It goes beyond the words, and it goes to something that's behind the words, and the ability to hear behind the words is most often more important than the actual words that are being used. And to me, when someone says something true, you hear the truth, no matter what it is or how it comes out, or what situation. So I actually remember coming home one night from the same particular therapist, and Vicki's totally pissed off, like completely pissed off, and ranting and ranting and ranting about something. And she's so angry and upset with me, she moves to the back of the van. And in the back of the van, she's letting loose with like just complete tirades of anything that could come to her mind. And I'm listening to him, and I understand, like I'm not, it's like I'm just listening, and it's going on and on and on and on and on. And all of a sudden, she got to the bottom of whatever it was that was going on. And she said something that was, that if a normal person heard, it would be like a total attack, a complete negation of the person. It would be, someone would take it as like the worst possible thing that you could ever hear from your wife. And it came out with this tone of such vehemence and anger that all I could hear was the truth of her behind all the words. And the words that she was saying had absolutely no meaning whatsoever. And all I could hear was her speaking truly about herself and me. And there was no animosity in what I was hearing whatsoever. It was just the truth.
Right.
It was true. Whatever, there was no, it was just true. It had, I didn't hear anger. I didn't hear attack. I didn't hear the words, the names that were being called. All I could hear was, "There's Vicki, that's true."
Right. We have 2 minutes, and I'd love for you each to just speak of one physical present. You each have a minute. One physical present that you either gave or were given by your partner. Vicki?
Well, one of the loveliest presents is today. Teddy came home with an armful of flowers. Lilies, calla lilies, sunflowers, and magnificent array of flowers. And just quietly puts them on the counter.
Thank you. And
Today.
Teddy? Oh, is there more, Vicki?
No,
No.
today.
And Teddy?
Okay, I got to think about this one because presents have always been one of those things. Because people tend to buy me presents that they think I'll like because they like them. And so I have a hard time receiving those types of presents because I seldom want them. So I'm really going to have to think about this. I mean, I know the one present that I did get that she knew that I wanted. And actually, the truth of the matter is, the best present she ever gave me was the ability to give my brother what he wanted.
Which is?
A Rolex.
How did that happen?
You know, it was one of those things where we were, the business was okay, it was Christmas, and, my brother always wanted one, and we had the ability, and Vicki went out, and we got him a watch, and she got him a Rolex.
All right. Well, this was a lot. We have just 25 seconds. If there's any final feelings or thoughts you would like to, anything you'd like to say to each other after doing this?
I would like to say I love you.
I love you too.
Well, on that happy note,
It's on the record now.
I love you too.
Thank you, Michael. We love you.
See, Michael, we told you this is the beginning of a beautiful friendship.
Yeah.